Welcome back to CBS This Morning. The federal government's newest jobs report out this morning reveals a slowing recovery from the impact of the coronavirus. The Labor Department says the U.S. economy added nearly 1.8 million jobs in July. It did beat expectations from 1.6. The unemployment rate fell to 10.2%, but that is down from the June numbers. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger joins us now. Jill, what do you make of these numbers so far?
Well, I mean, these numbers were very difficult to predict. So here's what you want to remember, that the virus surge in the South and the West caused a lot of municipalities to change their rules. They were slowing down their reopening process. And of course, consumers and businesses in those places also had to adjust. And this meant that the pace of job growth really did slow down. Remember, back in the beginning of this virus, March and April, 22 million jobs lost. Then we saw in May and June, 7.5 million jobs created, which is fantastic. Now we're slowing down a bit. It's probably because of the spread of this virus. The unemployment rate coming down is certainly a good sign, but I also like to look at the broader unemployment rate. It captures a lot of people who are working part-time when they'd really like full-time work. That rate now is down at about 16.5%. Now, again, that's a higher number, but it peaked at about 23% back in the spring. So directionally, things are in the right direction. It's just the pace of improvement has slowed down.
And Jill, how much of this is the economy that was due for a recession versus pandemic?
Well, this is clearly pandemic related. I mean, there is no doubt that when you see 22 million jobs vaporize over the course of 2 months, that is because the entire nation shut down. However, I think the reopening process is starting to actually weed out a lot of different businesses. So businesses who came into the period very shaky, you're going to see you're going to see their failures. You're going to see big department stores who maybe had a lot of debt. They're not going to make it. You may see mom and pop restaurants that were operating on razor-thin margins. They may not make it. So, in fact, the pandemic's probably an accelerant to what was going on previously.
There's been a lot of talk about the debate over the new potential new stimulus package here, Jill, which has still not happened or no agreement has been made, and a lot of talk about whether the larger checks or the extra checks that are going to people are discouraging them from going back to work. There is some new research out on that. What does it tell you?
We actually see no correlation between higher unemployment benefits and people looking for work. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When people are making more money, they have time to sit down, look through their options, and actually seek employment. And there is a study that's out from Yale that confirms this. We see some research from the Federal Reserve banks. There's also an interesting paper just out from the National Bureau of Economic Research. And they were looking back at the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, when benefits were not just bigger, but extended for a longer period of time. And that paper found something really very critical, and that is when people have a longer period of time to look for work and the security of unemployment benefits, they find a better job for them. Their skills match the job that's out there. That's important because we actually don't want people taking jobs that may be below their skill level, because that takes the job away from somebody at that skill level. So, in fact, richer and longer unemployment benefits may be the key to recovering in the labor market more quickly.
All right, and Jill, so also worth noting, the New York Fed reported that household debt, in the middle of all this, household debt actually decreased in the second quarter. Can you talk about that?
Well, this had a lot to do with credit card debt, and credit card debt shrunk for the first time in 6 years, and the largest decline in 7 years. That has a lot to do with people just not wanting to spend money, but also, remember, those $1,200 stimulus checks, a lot of people use that money to pay down outstanding debt. Look, as a certified financial planner, that's great. Economists don't love this. They want to see people spend more freely. Obviously, as the economy starts to loosen up and return to more normal levels, many think that these debt levels will rise once again, Jeff.
Okay, Jill Schlesinger, as always, thank you very much.
Take care.